You know, Warren Buffett is pretty much the undisputed GOAT of investing. But here's a thought. Maybe the most valuable lessons he can teach us don't come from his massive wins, but from his mistakes. So today, we're going to dive into 12 common investing pitfalls, all through the eyes of the master himself, to help you sidestep the errors that can really cost you.
And this quote right here, it's basically the theme for our whole chat today. See, investing isn't just about making brilliant moves. A huge part of it is having the self-awareness to know when you've messed up and the discipline to stop making things worse.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the psychological traps, the battles inside our own heads. Then, we'll cover the common strategic errors people make in their actual game plans. After that, we'll dig into the flawed philosophies that lead to bad decisions in the first place. And finally, we'll reveal what Buffett thinks is the biggest mistake of them all.
All right, Section 1, our first battlefield is the one we fight every single day, the one inside our own skulls. These are those sneaky, emotional mistakes that can trip up even the smartest people.
Okay, let's look at a classic mental trap, getting way too attached to the price you paid for a stock. So picture 3 different people who all own Amazon. We've got Katie, who bought in 5 years ago and is sitting on a nice 133% gain. Then there's Ben, who bought near the very top and is now down 38%. And finally, there's Arnold, who just bought the dip and is up about 5%.
So here's the million-dollar question, right? Should the price they each paid change what they do today? Should Katie sell and lock in her profits? Should Ben just hang on for dear life, hoping to get back to even?
The answer is a huge, resounding no. The market is cold. It's impersonal. The stock has no idea who you are, and it certainly doesn't give a damn what you paid for it. The only thing that matters, the only thing, is how that company is likely to perform from this day forward. Your entry point is just ancient history.
Buffett's longtime partner, the legendary Charlie Munger, had this brilliant, if kind of blunt, way of explaining another mental trap: confirmation bias. He said once an idea gets into our head, our mind just slams the door shut on any other ideas. We go looking for evidence that we're right, and we totally ignore anything that suggests we might be wrong. It is a wildly expensive habit.
And all of this leads right into the next trap: following the herd. You know, in most areas of life, if everyone agrees, it's probably a good thing. But as the great investor Howard Marks points out, in the world of investing, if an idea seems obvious to everybody, its potential is probably already gone. If everyone loves your stock pick, that should be a warning bell, not a high five.
Okay, let's switch gears and move on to our second section, common strategic errors. These aren't about what's in your head, they're about the real-world flaws in your game plan, the mistakes you make when you're actually trying to execute.
First up is the oldest mistake in the book, trying to time the market. Look, Buffett says you should only focus on things that are both important and knowable. The market's next move is definitely important, but it is absolutely not knowable. What is knowable is whether a company is a great business or not. So the strategy is simple. Find and bet on the best boats, and stop wasting your time trying to predict the weather.
And here's another huge strategic blunder: getting way too optimistic with your growth projections. Yeah, we all love a company that's growing like a weed, but here's the reality check. That kind of growth is incredibly rare. If you look at the big S&P 500 companies, only about 1 in 10, just one, managed to grow their earnings by 15% a year for a decade. Betting on that is a long shot, to say the least.
Right, now for a really dangerous one: leverage. Put simply, it's just investing with borrowed money. Now, it sounds great because it juices up your potential gains, but the dark side is that it also turbocharges your losses, and that can be absolutely catastrophic. Buffett says it's the one thing that can make a really smart person go completely broke.
Let me show you how this can blow up. Let's invent a guy, Harry, a hedge fund manager. He shorts GameStop, convinced it's way overvalued. And you know what? He might even be right in the long run. But he used leverage, so when the stock goes nuts and spikes, his broker makes a margin call, demanding more cash. Harry doesn't have it. He's forced to sell and eats a massive loss. See the problem? Leverage took away his ability to stick around long enough to be right.
Lastly, for this section, let's talk diversification. Buffett's take on this is really interesting. For most people, people who don't have the time to become stock-picking experts, a simple diversified index fund is perfect. It protects you from what you don't know. But if you are a know-something investor, he says you should do the opposite: focus. Find 6 or so truly wonderful businesses, because adding a 7th, 8th, or 9th best idea just waters down your absolute best ones.
All right, moving on.
We've tackled the battle in your mind and the errors in your playbook. Now we get to the really deep stuff, mistakes in your core philosophy. These are the shaky beliefs that pretty much guarantee you're gonna make all the other errors.
In almost every part of life, we get rewarded for solving hard problems. But in investing, you get 0 extra points for difficulty. As Buffett loves to say, his job isn't to go around looking for 7-foot bars to jump over, it's to find 1-foot bars that he can just step over. The whole game is about finding simple, easy-to-understand situations with a super high chance of success.
And that whole idea of simplicity is key. It's so easy to get lost in the weeds, right? Buried in spreadsheets. But Buffett is famous for making huge decisions really fast, and that's because he boils everything down to just 3 things. 1. What are the future economics of this business going to look like? 2. Is the management team good and honest? And 3. What's the price I have to pay? Get those 3 right, and all the other little details just don't matter that much. Another huge philosophical mistake is feeling like you always have to be doing something, always buying or selling. But investing isn't tennis, where you have to swing at every serve. It's baseball, and you can stand at the plate all day long. Hundreds of pitches can go by, because guess what? There are no called strikes. You get to wait patiently for that one perfect pitch, that fat pitch right down the middle.
But at the same time, while you're waiting, don't put on blinders. A good fisherman doesn't just sit in one spot all day if nothing's biting, right? He moves the boat. It's the same in investing. Great opportunities can show up anywhere, in any industry. Don't limit yourself by deciding you're only a tech investor or only an ESG investor.
And here we are, the final section. This is what Buffett himself says is the most expensive mistake you can possibly make, and it totally reframes how we think about risk. It's not just about the dumb things you do, it's about the smart things you fail to do.
It's called a mistake of omission. This is what happens when you see a fantastic opportunity. You totally get it, it's right in your wheelhouse, your circle of competence, and you do nothing. You hesitate. You just sit there, and, as Charlie Munger would say, you suck your thumb.
And the cost of just doing nothing can be absolutely staggering. Buffett figures this one mistake cost his company, Berkshire Hathaway, $8 billion. He was looking at buying more Walmart stock. He knew it was a fantastic business at a great price, but the stock ticked up just a tiny bit, and he hesitated, hoping it would come back down. It never did. An $8 billion mistake of pure inaction.
And listen, it's not just me saying it. Here it is, straight from the man himself. The biggest mistakes we've made by far are mistakes of omission, not commission. His costliest errors weren't from buying the wrong company. They were from failing to buy the right one when he had the chance. That is such a powerful idea. So, as we wrap all this up, I want to leave you with this one question to think about. After hearing about all of the master's missteps, what obvious opportunity, what fat pitch might be staring you right in the face today, just waiting for you to finally take a swing?